The resolution was an outrage, and in that sense, it was a victory for terrorism, because in the past year, Jews have been attacked mercilessly in hundreds of attacks in Jerusalem by Palestinians, incited by Fatah and Hamas. So this kind of resolution only serves to reinforce the extremists and indeed the terrorists. So I'd say the resolution was a defeat. But politically, if you look at the votes, as you indicated, we had many significant vote changes. India, for the first time, abstained on a resolution dealing with Israel. There was a technical vote about a year or two ago, but this is the first time substantively that India abstained. That's a huge shift. India has 200 million Muslims. France normally is a leader of the anti-Israel group at UNESCO. This time they abstained. We saw Argentina, which now has a pro-Israel president. This is the first action that I'm aware of where we actually saw action by this new pro-Israel president. So I think you had a number of interesting votes. Each one has their own reason.
Mexico dropped a bombshell of sorts over the vote. What's the backstory there?
Well, I think it's interesting that for the first time there was world outrage that we've never seen before, primarily from Israel, all parties in Israel, and Jewish communities worldwide. And in Mexico, the Jewish community was very outspoken. They felt that the president, the government had promised them that they would vote differently, that they would not vote for this inflammatory, outrageous resolution, and then they did. So that was part of the story. The other part is that the ambassador, the Mexican ambassador in Paris for UNESCO, a man named Andres Reimer, announced that he morally, personally, was opposed to the resolution, and that he himself walked out so that when Mexico voted for it, it was not him, but rather a colleague. That created its own scandal. Yeah. He leaked an email saying that, of Mexico ordering him to make the vote. So there's a whole sort of small scandal about him. He's now been fired.
Oh, he has been fired, because there were reports earlier that he may be fired, but he has been fired.
This morning, Mexico announced two things. They announced, number one, that they were going to change their vote in the second reading that's being held right now. They're going to change their vote, and secondly, that his term has come to an end. Wow. He just began a month ago. That Israel does have the best relations they've ever had with many countries, significant countries, China, India, Russia, the Arab world, Egypt, even Saudi Arabia, better than ever before. But there is a disconnect where Israel often has good relations with those countries, but at the UN, despite having no animosity towards Israel, at the UN they vote with the Arabs against Israel. Now suddenly we're seeing a slight shift, and the test will be in future votes. In the General Assembly in the next few months, we'll have 20 resolutions against Israel. Will India vote yes for all of them, as they normally do? In Geneva at the Human Rights Council, where I'm based, there'll be 5 resolutions against Israel in March. How will India vote then? So these are interesting things to track, and I think only in the next 6 months could we really confidently say that there was a trend. But certainly votes like India abstaining on a resolution dealing with Islamic issues, they have 200 million Muslims in India, is not insignificant.